Hey everybody, Paul Angelo here, founder of the Big Gay Family Social Program, where you meet gay men without trauma, without re-exposure to rejections, ghosting, judgments, and all the frustrations that you are used to experiencing when you meet men on your own, without supervision, without a dating strategy, and on the hookup apps and dating platforms where basically you have the rules of the jungle. That's right. When you meet people on those apps, you are under the rules of the jungle. And of course, that leads to trauma and that leads to fear. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to stop the bleeding, the emotional bleeding, because if you don't stop it, you will always have fear about all kinds of things and you will feel trapped. You will feel like you are in a fog of resistance. Often this is called fog of avoidance. You want to be more successful. You want to step out of your comfort zone, but for some reason, you just can't do it. So how does this work? How do we get so enmeshed into the frustrations, into this fog, such that we get stuck? That's what we're going to talk about today. Let's start with an exhibit. This is in essence what's happening. There is the trauma, which is the consistent re-exposure to betrayals, judgments, rejections. You log into the hookup apps, you see somebody you like, you want to have a date, but he replies to you asking you, how big is your, and you know what, the rest of the conversation about sex, and you're like, wait a second, I wanted to date you, I wanted to get to know you, and he's like, are you gonna be available for hookup? That's trauma. Every time you want to pursue someone in a loving way and you get confronted with an aggressive way or with a hookup, that's trauma. Every time you get abandoned, every time you are confronted with something strange or surprises, all of it is trauma and it's stacking up one after another. And ultimately, people are in a state of ambivalence and in a state of avoidance as a result of that trauma. If we want to stop all the bleeding on an emotional level, obviously, we would need to stop all the trauma. You would need to do things differently. But before we go into that, let's talk about another thing that's happening here. Because it's not just trauma. What often happens is that you are in a trauma body. Your body absorbs the trauma. Your mind, however, goes somewhere else. Your mind goes into the fear body, which means is that you are in a state of fear. Now, oftentimes we don't know we are in a state of fear. All that you are experiencing is all kinds of resistances, all kinds of holding back. You want to step out of your comfort zone, but for whatever reason you can't. You want to start a business, but you are negative about it. This pessimism, this inner voice that is telling you you can't make more money, you can't find a lover, you can't be healthy. Where's that coming from? It's coming from the fear body as a result of the trauma body and the re-exposure to trauma on an ongoing basis. Most of you underestimate the effect of trauma. Trauma is happening 24/7 for you if you are using the apps. It's happening all the time. And you are underneath it. You are the real you, the true you, the beautiful you, the innocent you, the you with the extraordinary potential. You are under the weight of all the trauma stacked one on top of another, and then the fear body that causes you not to be able to utilize your gifts, utilize your abilities, your skills. You are under so much weight that whatever it is that you technically are potential to achieve, that is no longer possible. Now, I know this from my own experience because I've been in the personal development world for many, many years, and everybody tells you, reach your potential, go do this, go do that, start a business. And I did start a business, and I am constantly pushing myself. But I discovered that when I experience trauma, and I have it with my parents because they're narcissistic. In fact, earlier today, I had that with my mother. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the video. I call her, I'm so excited about ChatGPT, about artificial intelligence. And the moment I want to say all of that to her, she cuts me off and she changes the topic. That's trauma. And in my past, there was more of that. And I remember that the moment I feel so shaken up, that I end up entering into this world of fear. The fear body is almost like put over me, and I become paralyzed for days, sometimes even for months, sometimes even for years. Because from the fear body, we end up into addictions. One of the ways that we manage that fear often, the way I used to manage it, is through smoking weed. And other people do other drugs. Other people do sex addictions, all kinds of ways that we manage that. The key here is to notice that if you are exposing yourself to trauma with dating or with men, there is a consequence to that you can feel, that you can experience, and that's the fear. That's the fear body. You can experience trauma directly because trauma works unconsciously. We end up going into, I use this in other videos, we go from the front, this is like a three-dimensional cube, we go into the back, the green space. That's what trauma does. It pushes us back. And because we are not in our true selves, everything is now turned into fear because you know that there's something holding you back. And you're noticing that you thought you could do it, but now you can't do it. You had big dreams, now those dreams are gone. You wanted a lover, but now you can't go out of your comfort zone and try things in a different way because you are pushed into the trauma body that creates the fear body. And then because you're afraid, you go back to the trauma body because when we are afraid, we are not in our best selves. We are underperforming, and that fuels even more trauma because we are seeking relationships, we are seeking to connect with people, we make mistakes when we are in a state of fear. Everything that you're going to do from the position here in the back, in that back side of the cube, that's going to re-expose you to trauma. And that's why this is a back and forth, trauma, fear, more trauma, and then more trauma, more fear. We're talking about years, sometimes a decade or two for gay men to just have this experience. And we ask the question, why is everybody so damaged? Why is everybody so underperforming? Why is everybody so addicted to everything? Because you can't carry all that weight of trauma and fear. You see? So the breakthrough here to stop your bleeding is to stop the trauma. And that takes discipline. Now, I created a free course on the Big A Family website. You can get that free course when you go to bigafamily.com and put your email on the homepage, and you get that 7 steps to putting the end to that trauma, to stopping the bleeding. I'm going to summarize 3 of those steps right now. To stop the trauma, you have to become disciplined about how to meet relationship-ready men. If you meet men who are narcissistic, if you meet men who have problems with communication, with shame, with self-esteem, you're back right here. It takes an enormous amount of discipline to not re-expose yourself to trauma. And that's the beginning of your transformation. You have to stop the trauma by only meeting men who are loving, who are kind, consistent, who want to get to know you. But that's not enough. You also need to go to the right places to meet them. Because just knowing who's the right person is not enough, because you still need to find them. You have to have a place that protects you from further mistakes. So let's assume that somebody is not going to traumatize you, but mistakes will still happen. And those mistakes can bring you back to triggering trauma and then the fear body. So you have to be in a place that has facilitation, kind of like a dating strategy. inside Big Gay Family, we have the CFC dating strategy. And that's how you stop the bleeding almost completely right there. But there is the third component that's necessary. So the first one is the meeting the relationship ready man. The second thing is go to the place that protects you from mistake. You will also need the process by which you're going to create commitment, by which you're going to experience vulnerability and emotional connection. That's part of the dating strategy inside Big Gay Family. So you'll need these three things if you want to break the cycle of trauma and stop the bleeding for good and reawaken your potential to go from the backside of this cube to the front of your consciousness, where you're fully on, fully conscious, really connected to your needs, to your abilities, to your competencies, to your potential, to your future. And to do that, you will need those three ingredients. You need to stop the bleeding by meeting relationship-ready men, being in a place that facilitates and protects you, and also facilitates the connection process and protects you. And you will need a dating strategy that then brings everything together, helps you establish beautiful connections. All of this is, my friends, it's not rocket science. It's just that people are sloppy. And you pay the price for being sloppy about your social interactions. And that price is the fact that each trauma, each negative experience takes you back and back and back away from who you really are until you end up being completely taken over by the fear body. And now we begin the paralysis that can last for decades. Right now, you have a lot of opportunities. You can start a business, you can take care of your health, enter into a coaching program and lose the weight, do some personal training. You can also do some improvement with dating and with relationships. You can fall in love. But if you are in a state of fear body, then you just have too much weight on top of you. You're not going to make it. Or if you make it, and this is what I've experienced when I try to push through it without stopping the bleeding, you can succeed for a few days, for a few weeks, to be a high performer, to step out of your comfort zone, but it's not going to be sustainable because the weight of trauma, the weight of the fear is going to put you down. So I'd like to invite all of you to come to the Big Gay Family Social Program. If you don't want to join us, at least come to the website, fill out your information on the homepage, get that free course. That course, I just spent 2 days putting it together. It's free. It gives you the 7 steps for dating success so that you go out of the fear body, out of the trauma body, and you can, for maybe the first time in your life, awaken yourself to your full potential. This whole thing about personal development and full potential and all the high performance and all the teachings about achievement, they make one mistake. They assume that people are in a beautiful state of mind and all you need to give them is information about how to push themselves. In reality is that we are all in a state of trauma most of the time. We are in a state of fear body most of the time. And so to tell someone, go achieve success, make $1 million, go find a lover, go take care of your health, it's crazy to do because we can't talk like that to someone who's been traumatized, who's in a state of fear. Instead, we need to encourage them to stop the bleeding, to stop the trauma, to understand and to accept that they are in a state of fear. And now we can gently promote the awakening and the person can come into contact with the cylinders of their potential that are unused in their consciousness because they are traumatized and they're in a state of fear. What I see right now with artificial intelligence is pretty crazy. I am 1,000,000% on board of ChatGPT. I've purchased a whole bunch of courses. Everything about Big Gay Family will be taken to the next level because of ChatGPT and artificial intelligence. And I see what's happening with the marketplace. You need to start a business as soon as possible. You need to learn about artificial intelligence as soon as possible. All of you need to take this seriously because all of this, the artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, and other competitive AI software and language models are going to replace a lot of your jobs. And so you can't be in a state of fear or trauma in a marketplace, in an economy that is now significantly affected by these new technologies that will replace 50% of the workforce. If you are in a state of trauma, in a state of fear, you are going to be outcompeted. So take this seriously, snap out of the trauma space, snap out of the space of the body of fear, and go out there and become a high achiever. Become who you were meant to be. But obviously, you can't do that if you are constantly fighting off all the narcissists, all the sociopaths and psychopaths that you're meeting on these apps, exposing yourself to trauma and all the wrong people. So may this video, this message empower you to know you can reach further, you can be more empowered, you can have lovers, you can have beautiful body that feels great, but not when you're traumatized, not when you're in a state of fear. So take this seriously, my friends. Join us at the Big Gay Family Social Program. Visit the website biggayfamily.com and begin your transformation. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'm excited about future videos. It's going to be an amazing journey, I promise. So stay with me here and let's continue into the future. Okay, my friends, signing off. I'll talk to you soon.